Hello, my name is Rita Julian and I'm the owner of Julian Bookkeeping, and today I will be walking you through the basics of QuickBooks. So if you look at that first slide, I've got a comparison of the different types of QuickBooks subscriptions that you can buy. And so I always recommend that you start with the Simple Start because it's always very, very easy to upgrade. And you can always look at this on their website as well. They have a comparison chart, but I have a screenshot here for you to view. And if you ever end up needing any more features with your subscription, they make it really super easy to upgrade, no problems at all. So I would always recommend starting with Simple Start because it is the cheapest and the most simplest subscription. So connecting your bank accounts will be the first thing that you will do. If you go to the banking tab, and you can see on here, there's going to be a left-hand side sidebar kind of with a list of things that you can click on. The three most major ones that we're going to be talking about today are the banking tab, the reports tab, and the accounting tab. Those are the three that you're going to use the most as a business owner and when you're in QuickBooks. And so first thing you're going to do is go to the banking tab and you're going to connect your banks. And I always like to explain this as it's basically like you're logging into your online banking because when you're able to click on these business accounts, they're constantly pulling in those most recent transactions, just like you're logging into your online banking. So all you're doing is linking the account, and I have the steps over on the left-hand side for you if you want to take a look there. But you can see in the top right-hand corner, there's a button that says Link Account, and they make it super easy. You just click on it, and you go through the steps of bringing in all of your transactions for your bank. So this is anything business-related, whether that be a checking account, savings account, PayPal that you use for business, Venmo, you're not able to connect to Venmo, so that would not be one. But I'm trying to think. Oh, credit card. If you have a business credit card, you would also connect it here. And so one thing that it will ask you that gets a little confusing is when do you want to bring in transactions as of what date? And so I always like to say if you have already filed your previous year taxes, so we're in 2021 now, if you've already filed 2020, then, that's good to go. 2020 is wrapped up. I would recommend bringing in transactions as of January 1st, 2021. If you have not filed 2020 and, you've connected with your CPA and they're needing, all of your finance information, all of your numbers for that, then I would recommend bringing in transactions as of January 1st, 2020. That way you can take, all of 2020, get that nice and cleaned up, and then also move forward with 2021. That's about it as far as connecting goes. It will ask you to name it, and super easy. You can just put, if you bank at SmartBank, you can just say SmartBank Checking. Or if you have two accounts with SmartBank, like a checking and a savings, you could put the last four digits. That's what I would recommend. Like SmartBank 0401, SmartBank 2500, or whatever. That way it can be differentiated on there. And so you might notice that I have QuickBooks pulled up here, and it is their sample company. It's called Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. So this is like their pretend company with their pretend financials on here. So any kind of screenshot that you see on here will be that business. But you can see that they have two bank accounts on your screen. You've got checking and you've got savings. And you can see in the orange numbers that there are 25 transactions that are currently being pulled in. And then there's one on the savings account. So we're going to go ahead and skip ahead to chart of accounts, but we will come back to coding those transactions here in a second. So customizing your chart of accounts, this is the second thing you will do that's the most important. If you aren't familiar with what chart of accounts is, this is basically the foundation of your business's finances. This is a really big deal. It's going to list all of your income accounts, all of your expense accounts, all of your assets, your liabilities, and your equity accounts as well. So, for example, and I took a screenshot here of some of the expenses. What I mean by customize is if you are a design and landscaping service company, some of your chart of accounts may look like, and I'm just going to read these, jaw materials, decks and patios, fountain and gardens, plants and soil, things like that. And so those are expenses specific to that business. If I own a bookkeeping business, so I'm not going to have an account that's for decks and patios, So this is where you would really go in and customize it to best fit your business. Next is code transactions. So we would go back to the banking tab, and let me go back. Chart of accounts, you can go to the accounting tab and then chart of accounts to get there. I did not explain that earlier. But back to the banking tab, I'm going to go over the 3 things that you will want to do on a monthly basis, and that is code transactions, reconcile, and view your reports. So the first thing is code transactions, and this is super easy. You will just log in, and usually daily, if you log in each day, they will be bringing in all the new transactions, that you've been either spending or receiving any income. So there is one, and if you just scroll down on that banking tab, you'll get to see all those 25 transactions that I was talking about before, and you simply just click on one of them to expand it. And this one, if you look on your screen, it says Books by Bessie. So this is obviously a bookkeeper that this person is paying, and they paid them, or it says received $55. That's probably supposed to be on the spent though, because you're spending money for a bookkeeper. So the category, this is what you're wanting to code it as. And if you can see, there is a vendor and customer box, and there is a category box. So the vendor would be the name of the person that you're paying, Books by Bessie. And then the category would be legal and professional. And you can't see it there, but it does say bookkeeper. So there is a specific account for professional bookkeeping fees, and that's where that transaction would go. So just to name off a few more, let's say they went to Office Max or Staples and bought ink and paper, that would go to office supplies. Or let's say they went to Lowe's to repair a part of their office, that would go in repairs and maintenance, stuff like that. So I usually recommend, depending on the complexity of your business, if you have lots of transactions, I would recommend doing this once a week. However, if you have about under 50 transactions a month, I'd say you're okay to do this just once a month. Next is reconciling. So once everything has been coded for the month, you download your bank statement from your online banking, and what you're looking for is the ending balance and the date. And so you can see here that I have the screen pulled up. You would type in that box, the ending balance, and then the date. So let's just say it was $1,000 on July 30th, 2021. So you would enter that, and then you would click Start Reconciling. And what will come up is a list of all the transactions that you've coded. And so what I recommend is looking at that statement, and I actually recommend printing it because you're able to cross it off and it's a lot easier. But you are comparing all of the transactions that are on that bank statement compared to what's on QuickBooks. And the beauty of this is it will catch any mistakes in QuickBooks, any duplicates, anything weird going on. That way you can make sure that everything is balancing, everything is matching. What you do is you simply take each transaction on your bank statement and you check it off one by one. And what should happen is when you're done, the top right-hand corner should show $0 and a $0 difference, and it should be in green. That lets you know that you finished it, and you simply just click Finish Now, and you will do that for each of your bank accounts. So like I was saying before, checking, savings, PayPal, credit card, you name it. Anything that's for the business needs to be reconciled on a monthly basis. Lastly, this is the last thing you'll do each month is look at your reports. And so a lot of people, I feel like to skip this part because there isn't really anything that you have to take action on. But it is just very beneficial for you to look at these, on a monthly basis because you're able to see what were your sales, how much money did you make? What were your expenses? And then what was your net income at the end? What are you left over with? How well did your business perform financially? And so usually you're able to see like, oh my gosh, I spent so much money in advertising. Like, what's going on here? And you're able to click on those very specific amounts and see like, oh, I had, whatever go on. And that's the reason for that. Or whatever it may be, you're able to kind of get to the bottom of why your expenses were high or why your sales weren't as high this month or whatever that may be. So the only other report I like to look at is the balance sheet. And so the screenshot here I have on the PowerPoint is the profit and loss. So now we're switching gears to the balance sheet. This is also a really good report that shows you basically a financial snapshot of where you're at in your business. It will list all of your assets, all of your bank accounts, all of your liabilities. So any loans that you have that you haven't paid off yet, those balances, and then your equity. So how much you've paid yourself, your net income, your retained earnings, all that good stuff. So those are the two reports that I recommend looking at on a monthly basis. And then I'm just going to touch on this a little bit, receipt management. I feel like there are a lot of different subscriptions out there for receipt management that cost money, but I have found that working with Google Drive is the best and it's free, thank goodness. But the beauty of this is that the IRS does not require paper receipts anymore. They will accept electronic ones, which is so nice. And so I simply just, create a folder that's called receipts. If you are, a business with not a lot of transactions going on, you could simply just have, a 2021 folder. Or, if you start to get quite a bit more receipts, you could separate those by quarters. And then if you have even more receipts, you could separate those by vendors. So for example, you've got your receipts folder and then Q3, we're in Q3 right now. And let's say you go to Walmart, you could have a folder that's named Walmart so that, if you ever need it, come tax time and your CPA asks you, or if you ever run into an audit and they ask you, can we see the receipt for Walmart in Q3 of 2021? All you have to do is go into that search bar and type in Walmart and all of your receipts should pop up. And it makes it so much easier than, going through a shoebox or going through your office with receipts everywhere and not organized. So highly recommend Google Drive. Taxes. So I'm just going to very briefly go over the 4 pretty major ones. Income tax, that is what you file obviously once a year with your CPA by April 15th. And I always like to recommend that you contact them in the fall or the early spring because the later you contact them, the higher their rates are going to be. Sales tax, if your business qualifies for sales tax, this is actually due monthly and it's different for every state. Tennessee is due monthly on the 20th of each month. And so if you need any more information on that, you just go to the TNTAP website. Business tax is also through TNTAP, and this is only filed once a year. And so usually your CPA will file this for you. You just have to request it. And then payroll tax, this is all kinds of deadlines, state and federal. And the deadlines, vary from every time you submit payroll. There's also quarterly deadlines, and then there's annual deadlines as well. So that's just kind of a brief overview, and you guys, of course, can ask me any questions when we meet together. And then lastly, what's the point of all this? Why go through managing your books month to month? What's the point of coding and reconciling, viewing the reports, all that good stuff? Number one, you pay your CPA less, because if you go to your CPA with your books untouched and, totally messy QuickBooks, that is going to be an expensive bill. My goodness. And so you definitely will pay your CPA a much lesser bill come tax time. Not only that, but you have a clear picture of your finances. How well is your business performing month to month? You're able to compare all of the different months. How well did I do in quarter one versus quarter two, and vice versa. And then you're also able to catch, all of the duplicates, all of the mistakes, kind of like I was talking about before. You may notice like an extra subscription that you've been accidentally paying that you didn't know about. Or there might be a duplicate charge or areas you need to improve, etc., etc. So long term, it's going to save you money as well. So thank you so much. That's about it. That's all I have. So I'm excited to get to talk to you guys, and thank you so much.